I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
That was a 911 call from a witness who encountered two entities who crash landed in some sort of camouflage ship in their backyard in Las Vegas back in May 2023. I'm going to get into that story in just a moment, as well as discuss a recent supposed Pentagon whistleblower on UFOs and alien spacecraft that are allegedly within the possession of the United States government, as well as a recent UFO footage that's probably some of the best UFO footage we've ever gotten, taken by someone on a small aircraft. Now, before I get into those stories, I have to show how this phenomenon is a spiritual phenomenon, a fallen phenomenon, is really provable beyond a shadow of a doubt, and does play a big role for the times we're in and what we'll see in the future. First, here's an article on Gaia.com. Dr. Stephen Greer's CE5 protocols led to mass UFO sighting. Dr. Stephen Greer is a well-known person within the UFO community, but the important thing to know here is that Stephen Greer went to an international university to study transcendental meditation, and he now leads people in meditation protocols, CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where they encounter these crafts and beings through the practice of meditation. This article says Dr. Greer said that at one point he decided to go off on his own and practice his CE5 protocols, which he says he co-created with an extraterrestrial entity during a contact experience as a young adult. If this was not a spiritual phenomenon, a group of people doing a transcendental New Age meditation practice would not summon UFOs. That'd be like a group of people doing meditations and then all of a sudden airplanes start circling around them. That's just not how this works. Aleister Crowley, who called himself the Antichrist, the Beast himself, in 1918 conducted a sex magic ritual in which an entity came through the heavens. He named this entity Lamb, and you can clearly see the connection from this entity to the entities that people claim they see when they're abducted by aliens. And the greatest proof of all is that people who are harassed by aliens, who have been abducted by aliens, when they decide to finally one day call on the name of Jesus during the abduction stops. This only happens because it's spiritual warfare.
But I can stand here and say that my husband, my daughter, and my son have not had any more experiences since I became a believer and gave it to him.
We don't know exactly what these entities are, but they are clearly tied to the fallen realm of some sort. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." I personally have experience in the past before I was saved, harassed by UFOs for years when I was dabbling in New Age practices, but the harassment almost entirely stopped when I became a Christian and Jesus saved me. So now let's look into these stories. This event took place just before midnight on April 30th. Across several western states, people saw what looked to be a bright fireball flying through the sky. A police officer in Las Vegas picked this up on his body cam, and then moments later, this call came into 911.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and it's looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
The family says that something actually crashed within their backyard. Two large, up to 10-foot tall entities got out with huge eyes and huge mouths. When the police showed up to talk to this family, it doesn't look like a family who's faking this type of thing. I mean, who's going to call 911 and fake such a thing and have the cops actually show up to your house? And then when they show up, your mother and your father come out wearing their pajamas. This does not seem like a faked event. In one of the news reports, it said that several agencies were involved in this scenario.
Right, Denise, sources telling Bay Now investigators that several agencies believe something landed or crashed.
To me, it sounds like someone's trying to make these people not talk. News agencies in contact with this family continuously try to get interviews and contact them more. They talked over the phone, but every time they met for an interview, they wouldn't open their doors or answer the phone. One of the sons said he actually recorded footage of these entities in their backyard, but of course that footage has not yet been seen. And as the family continues to dodge interviews, to me it seems who's ever telling them not to talk is also the one who has that footage of that entity from the phone camera. This leads us to David Grush, who's a supposed Pentagon whistleblower who came out recently in a news interview saying that we absolutely have UFOs and alien spacecraft, as well as probably alien bodies. But me personally, when I saw this interview, alarms were going off. It didn't seem genuine. Something seemed weird, like a plant or like this was something meant to come out, not a genuine whistleblower coming out. I mean, he didn't even give personal knowledge. He pretty much just said things that we already know. For me, something's completely off about this guy, but I'll play a few clips for you and you can see for yourself.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me. They were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
I'm just not getting the same feeling from David Grush as I was from Ryan Graves when he came out, a fighter pilot in the Navy, who came out and talked about the encounters of UFOs that he and his teammates were seeing while doing military practices.
He saw it, and he immediately came back. I have to assume he didn't have it on his radar because he wouldn't have flown through this object at the entrance point. He turned around, flew back, landed, and I was in the ready room when he come back, and he had all his gear on, which typically is not a good thing because you want to get that stuff off as fast as possible. So usually means there's a problem of some nature, and he was just sitting there saying, "Hey, I was hit with those damn things," and we all knew what he was referring to, even though we didn't necessarily have a name for it, just because we were seeing these so much. And he described it. He described it just as a black or dark gray cube. And that cube was inside of a clear translucent sphere. And essentially the apex or the corners of that cube, best he could tell, were touching that inside of that sphere.
Oftentimes you can tell someone's genuineness. With Ryan Graves, it seems very clear. With David Grush, to me, it just seems not so clear. Now this leads us to probably the best UFO footage that's ever been filmed. Valentina Velez, a Colombian model, posted on Instagram a clip she took from her cell phone while on a private plane. The footage really speaks for itself. Take a look and see what you think. This phenomenon, whatever it is, in my opinion, is completely tied to the fallen realm, fallen angels, their offspring, or some sort of fallen entity that we just don't fully understand. The existence of these UFOs and their ETs that control them is based entirely on the unprovable theory of macroevolution. And it also doesn't explain the fact that when everybody encounters these things, it strikes fear in them. The same feeling as when somebody walks through an area that feels haunted and there's some form of evil force around. The people who actually engage with some of these entities are taught occult New Age knowledge about the universe and everything being one or whatever it is, and that's if there's not evil experiments done on them. Again, there's mass amounts of people out there summoning these things, trying to contact UFOs through New Age practices, something that wouldn't make sense if they were actual ETs from another planet. Does it make any sense that the military force or whoever's flying these craft on another planet would say, "Oh, Stephen Greer and 5 people are doing a meditation, better go to Earth and fly around"? That makes zero sense from a physical entity that is not fully controlled by the fallen realm. And again, the greatest evidence of this all is the fact that these encounters, and I have personal experience of this, stop when you call on the name of the Lord Jesus. This is what happens when you deal with the fallen realm, not always the physical realm. I find it interesting that in 2 Corinthians 11:13 through 15, it mentions how Satan can transform himself into an angel of light. And that word in the Greek means to change in fashion or appearance. Are these fallen angels or their offspring or something tied to them transforming into these entities? Or did they create a race of beings that somehow have technology and live within the earth, in the oceans, or something along these lines? We don't fully grasp it yet, but it's beyond a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, tied to the fallen spiritual realm. I find this topic crucially important because this phenomenon clearly isn't just going to go away. It will most likely have to play into the end-time scenarios of deception and control by the Antichrist and his fallen order. This truly is the only explanation as somebody who believes in the entirety of the Bible from the creation in Genesis to the second coming of the Lord Jesus in Revelation. I'd say these other entities that are seen around the world, like the Mothman or Bigfoot, are probably tied to the fallen realm as well. But clearly the UFO phenomenon and whatever is controlling these things is the biggest one, playing the biggest role, and is now starting to take over the mainstream narrative in the world. So whatever these things come out and say, come out and do in the future, if they come down and have the answer to everything, they have video footage of everything, don't believe it. These things are 100% a deception. And right now, while they're still fully connected to the spiritual realm, they haven't fully broken into ours yet. You can call in the name of the Lord Jesus and these things flee, because just like Colossians 2:15 tells us, and having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. Jesus is the name above every other name, and all of his enemies are his footstool, which is why when you call on his name around these entities, they flee. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe this family's testimony? What did they see? What's the connection to these lights in the sky and these entities that abduct people to the fallen realm? Because it's, in my opinion, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Thanks for watching, and God bless.